Some games exist to show you something beautiful. To show you that with perseverance and love, even the smallest of us can change the world for the better. While other games exist to show you something ugly. The Night is Grey is a point-and-click horror game from Whalestork. The game opens with our player character Graham on the run from some wolves. Just as he thinks he's lost them, he hears an ominous tree branch crack just ahead. Following the sound, Graham, never follow the sound, that's horror movie 101 stuff. He finds a little girl alone in a cabin in the dark. She's terrified. Her mother went out to start the generator hours ago and she still isn't back yet. As we get to know Hannah and her home, we start to notice some concerning things. We learn Hannah's mom locked away her stuffed animal, threw out her crayons, and locked all the cabin's interior doors. So Hannah can't go to bed or even use the bathroom. It's enough to make you feel like maybe this isn't the safest place for Hannah tonight. Who knows if her mom is coming home, and with these wolves prowling outside, Graham decides the best course of action is to take Hannah to her grandparents' house. But unfortunately, the only way there is through the forest, where we'll learn about the area, Hannah's family, and Graham. I won't be spoiling the game for you, but I do want to say this game goes places. It was a ride that left me on the other side just sitting and staring into space for a little while. This is a game with a lot on its mind. As we get to know Graham, we can't help but pick up that this is a guy with some massive self-esteem issues, and a guy who seems to be running from more than just wolves. Graham is an unlikely hero, and as we learn more about him, you'll see just how unlikely. It's an intense experience, but one I'm glad to have had. But this does kinda lead me to my biggest criticism of the game. A game like this one needs trigger warnings. I wasn't totally prepared for what it had in store for me, and I wish I'd gotten a clue just to mentally prepare myself. So I'll provide you with that heads up now. If you decide to crack this one open, buckle up for discussions of abuse, sexual assault, and some occasional violent imagery. Now that you know about the imagery, I can start gushing about it because the art direction is maybe my favorite aspect of the game. The backgrounds feel right out of a creepy storybook, even when depicting modern machinery. And that's perfect. A little girl lost in the woods, wolves. It's all very Little Red Riding Hood. And these backgrounds have a foreboding aura to match. In nearly every shot, the camera is placed just on the other side of some dark silhouette in the foreground, like some foliage or rusty pylons. By framing our characters like this, that storybook vibe is emphasized, while at the same time making us feel like voyeurs, watching from a distance like a wolf stalking their prey. But what's most impressive to me is the characters themselves. Every character is hand-animated, which, if you don't know, is an obscene amount of work, especially for a team of this size. And the effort absolutely pays off. This level of attention to detail means even the smallest gestures convey so much about who these characters are just by watching them for a few minutes. Hannah is restless, energetic, and a little stinker, while Graham, by contrast, is exhausted, anxious, and barely holding it together. Their dynamic reminded me a lot of Joel and Ellie from The Last of Us, but if Ellie was a lot younger and much more mischievous, and Joel was much less of a grizzled action hero type and more of just some guy, you know? Their interactions are so cute, and the jokes in the dialogue were a real highlight, a much appreciated contrast to the spooky, scary setting. The gameplay itself was fun, albeit fairly traditional point-and-click fare. It's that classic mix of collecting and combining items to solve problems, and solving contained in-game puzzles. I was really impressed with the game design of these contained puzzles. Many of them were original concepts I hadn't really seen anywhere else, and they were super satisfying to solve. And if you do need help, as I did several times, there is a generous hinting mechanic. However, even with the hints provided, I did still find myself stuck enough to use a guide, which I will never apologize for because I love cheating, and I definitely didn't feel like it hindered my appreciation of the story being told. My biggest tip is to remember to both interact, left-click, and inspect, right-click items, just for your own sanity. Hardcore point-and-click fans will have some fun in-jokes to uncover as The Night is Grey takes a much more grounded approach than, say, a LucasArts game, and it's pretty self-aware about it. Let's take The Secret of Monkey Island, a landmark in point-and-click as a genre, famous for its esoteric moon logic puzzle solutions. A feature that became prominent in future games in this genre as well, like Grim Fandango. That's where The Night is Grey swerves. You need a pen? Well, here's a stick and a fire, so with my point-and-click hat on, I bet I need to take the stick, burn it with the fire, and then use the charred end as a pen. But if I even try to pick up the stick, Graham makes fun of me. Because, of course there's a pen somewhere. We don't have to write with a charred stick like barbarians, you weirdo. Just look around a little bit first. The Night is Grey proudly makes its solution straightforward. Need a missing lever? Go find the lever. You don't have to MacGyver one out of a paperclip and some chewing gum. In fact, please don't stick used gum in machinery. Thank you. Maybe I'm just terrible at point-and-clicks, but I didn't feel like that ever made the game any easier. As I said, I cheated multiple times. The straightforward gameplay loop allows plenty of time for the story and the characters to breathe. Show Hannah the stuff you find, and the two characters have a little conversation about it. They seem to really enjoy talking to each other, but when Graham is alone by himself, roving through the puzzlescape, he'll start complaining about the kid ad nauseum. It again reminds me of Joel and Ellie. Try as Joel and Graham might to convince themselves that the last thing they need is a little girl to worry about, we, the audience, figure out long before they do that they do need this. Acting the hero is just as much for you as it is for anyone you're trying to save. The world is a cruel place. Sometimes you can't even trust the people who are supposed to protect you. And it can be easy to believe them when they tell you that it's all your fault. It can be easy to believe that there's something wrong with you. When that becomes your truth, your self-esteem doesn't have a chance. You start to see yourself as the monster. So when you finally have a chance to prove to everyone that you are not a monster, actually, you're the hero, it's not exactly a selfless act, is it? And what about all your mistakes? What if you have acted monstrously? How much heroism is required to balance the scales? How can you unbecome that monster? These are the questions The Night is Grey wants to ask you. For my money, I would say that no one is a monster and no one is a hero. There are only heroic acts and monstrous acts. Hero and monster are just roles and stories. They're not real, just archetypes we use to process and organize the confusing reality of being a human. And I cannot overstate how confusing the reality of being a human is. There's a temptation to judge yourself on a scorecard, tallying up all the good and bad things you've done. A temptation to look at all your mistakes and call yourself a monster and conclude that is a movable fact. But in reality, you could never be a monster. You're much too busy being raw potential. No matter what you did yesterday, tomorrow isn't written yet. You could wake up and do good or do evil or do something in between. And that potential is entirely yours to shape. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this short little video on this beautiful game about ugly things. Full disclosure, I did get a copy from the developers for this review, so huge thanks to Whalestork for nudging me to give their gorgeous creation a try. If you enjoyed watching, I have other short videos like this one on fascinating, thoughtful indie games, and also some longer video essay type videos as well. This video would not have been possible without the support of my brave and generous patrons. Thank you all so much. I love my patrons so much that I try to sing them a birthday song when I can. So, here goes.
Hello, I'm Whoosh, and I came down from space. I traveled for miles to put a smile on your face. Yo,
Rowan.
happy birthday. You're cool. My home is Mars and the trip is long, but it's worth it to sing you this birthday song. Yo,
Rowan.
happy birthday. You're cool.
That was awesome!
Everybody wish Rowan happy birthday in the comments. You're all implicated.
I'm implicated.